County Executive Anthony Picente in studio right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So it was brought up yesterday. We spoke with the mayor of Boonville, and Dave Leffingwell, and he's taking issue with what he sees as you trying to force their community to merge, to consolidate Boonville, the town and village. What's your plan there? And are you saying, listen, if you guys don't do this, I'm going to pull your funding away?
Well, I'm not. Look, I don't have the authority to just say that I'm going to pull their funding away. I think it's a matter of how much money there is to go around, and that's what I've been saying all along. Now, by saying I want them to go away, that's not my point. I think everybody has been talking, and like every elected official throughout this county, when you get in front of a microphone or in the paper, wants to talk about consolidation and regionalization. Then when you sit down at the table and try to do it, they don't. Now, not all of them, but. My point is, when you look at the sales tax revenue as it comes in, and how much it is, and what county government is responsible for, we can't continue to survive, at that rate, or we have to have a drastic increase in property taxes. Yeah. So people have to make choice. This is about choices more than it's about. It's not about Tony Picente taking apart towns and villages. It's really about choices. About what can we do? What are we doing? What can we do together, and what can we do in terms of eliminating duplication? You can't look at 26 towns, 17 villages, 3 cities, and a county government and say that you don't have overlapping services there. Yeah, okay. And so that's what part of this is really about, looking at choices. I'm not saying the village of Boonville or any village has to go away. I'm saying that we have to look at ways, and they have to look at ways, if they want to continue what they're doing, or if they want to look at ways to save their taxpayers' money, there are ways to do that.
Are you pulling, will you pull funding? I say funding. We're talking about the distribution of sales tax, which, by the way, is not required by the county.
That's correct. Sales tax, too, is one of those items that, Oneida County made a choice over 30 years ago to include towns and villages. Some counties don't. It's not, by law, it's not required. The only ones under the law that cities are eligible for sales tax collection are counties and cities. Yeah. So it's really a matter of looking at, are we still doing things the way we did 30 plus years ago? Yeah. And this is a discussion, though, too. This is also getting at the table and rolling up the sleeves, seeing if there's willingness to work in this regard. Now, maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't work out. And at that point, but that goes back to the statement I made about people making choices. So where do you want it to come from? Do you want it to come from property taxes? Then if that's the level of government services that you want on all of those levels, then it's going to cost more.
Manaski.
There was something when the mayor of Boonville was on earlier this week. He said basically he hadn't looked into what savings could come from consolidation. Let me ask you this, because this is something you would like to do. Sure. If these towns and villages risk losing funding, is it fair to ask them, and I don't know if you've asked them, to say, go do a study that shows that you would save money, and then I can pull your funding? Is that something that should come from you or from the county?
I think it did. Did you?
We threw out a program the last couple of years that encouraged consolidation and had money behind it to incentivize and to actually pay for the consolidation efforts or whatever had to go into changing the system. But I guess to your point, Jeff, here's the question I have. I know, the county of Oneida, I know in my budget that I present to the legislature that they just passed, I know where that sales tax money is, and I know what it goes for. So now my question is, so in the towns and villages who get from variety of sales tax from over $5 million to less than 300,000 or 400,000 a year, and then even into the villages lower than that. So what are you using that money for? And if you're using that money for a service that we can consolidate with either ourselves or the towns, if you're using whatever the number is for public works, and the town has a public works department, why aren't we doing that together? If it's public safety, why aren't we doing that together? So if those are the issues, if it's specific to things in the town, that or in the village that need to get done only by the village, then I understand that. But I'm asking the question about, let's look at this. Everybody talks about it. Are we really serious about it? And I think it's time to have the discussion rather than just come on your show and talk in the newspaper about, I'm for consolidation, I'm for regionalization.
Right.
Let's see. Let's put it on paper. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look how much there is to go around.
I mean, is this you're not certainly picking on just Boonville, but you're saying really
I'm not picking on anybody. I'm looking at a system that reflects an unfair balance of how it distributes sales tax, because it distributes it based on assessment and not size and need of governments, and I think that that's an important factor.
Now, the Mayor Leffingwell says that he's reached out to you and he's not heard back.
Well, I've read the mayor's letters in the paper and to legislators. I've never gotten a letter from him. I've checked with my office every day. He hasn't called. If he wants a call, I'll be there this morning, 798-5800, and sometime after this show, I'll be there, and I'd be glad to talk to the mayor. I'd be glad to talk to anybody, and that's the interesting thing. I haven't denied anybody access, or I mean, that's crazy to say that. I mean, I've talked to several supervisors, obviously, and mayors.
And I have. He's on the line, so we'll bring him on. But sure. I do want to say, we do all talk about consolidation, whether it's municipalities or school districts, and it really there's almost always you get resistance.
Sure.
We saw it with the fire situation in Whitestown and New York Mills and that over in that area.
Sure.
Very difficult. Oftentimes the people, it becomes very politicized, and the people end up seeing it as a vote, seeing the vote, and they vote it down. How do you make, because I guess people lose their identity in some cases.
That's an interesting thing there, too. I talked about this in my State of the County, and that's when it all started. I talked about consolidation then and looking at this formula and how we govern in the future and saying that the sales tax is not going to go up unless we get more people here. Now, that is a goal, and that's something we're working on.
Yeah.
But until that time, you're going to hit a level where you can only collect so much, and it does come not just from the people that live here, but people that visit here as well, and those are the choices we made, and we made it. It's higher. I understand that it's the second highest in the state. Besides New York City, along with Erie, and I think Allegheny is right around there too. But we did that to keep property taxes low.
Right.
And so we made that choice. Now my point is, just in looking at all of these things. So where do we go from here? We can't continue to operate a government that has the requirements that we do, with just a fixed rate that's just not moving. And when we have 395 taxing jurisdictions in Oneida County alone,
right?
So,
all right, I want to bring the mayor in a second. I'll take a break, and we'll come back here. I almost called you a congressman. That's
Freudian slip.
The county executive in studio. We'll break right back here, and we'll bring the mayor in from Boonville, Dave Leffingwell, next on WIBX.